So this is my vlog regarding the lesson, the clil lesson I did for English, which had the subject of geography. In the lesson I put the tables in groups, and I put the season cards on top of the table. We watched a little video clip about the weather and the seasons, and the children had to match flashcards with the types of weather with the right season. And the lesson went very well. The children were very involved. They liked the lesson a lot. It was like playing memory. It was a little game for them. I got feedback from my fellow students and friends of mine, in which one of my friends said, you could have researched a little bit more on the level of English, which the children already have, to make the lesson more evolving for the children who find English a little bit more difficult, and for the children who find English a little more easy. So I did. I looked at the curriculum in which they are being taught English, and I looked at the level of English in which they are right now, and the level of English for every student separately. So I used the flashcards in the second lesson as well as the first lesson for the children who found it a little bit more difficult to really look at the picture and match the word with the picture, to make it a little more visible so that they could see what they were learning. And for this lesson, I made a worksheet in which I would tell about one of the seasons without actually telling which season it was. So the children had to actively read what the worksheet was saying, and they had to match the right word, the right season with the right little text. We looked at a video beforehand in which the seasons were again explained, and a song about the weather and the things that you would use in the different types of weather. So if it would be sunny outside, you wouldn't be wearing your rain boots and your raincoat. And if you would go to the beach, you wouldn't wear gloves and a hat. So we looked at that and we talked about it a lot from the point of view of what I was saying. They would have to reciprocate what I was saying in Dutch. So I said, for an example, it's rainy outside, I need my umbrella. What did I just say? What do I need? And they would write it on their small whiteboard so I could see which children were participating and which children found it a little bit more difficult. I also gave the children the room to talk about their experiences with types of weather. So for example, one of the children told me when it's sunny, we go to the beach and we play with the beach ball and we have our towel and our bathing suits. And they would tell me in Dutch and I would translate in English. So they would hear both sides. Then they got the worksheet. They had a little, what they said, a little text about one of the seasons. They had to mix and match. And I would put the seasons in little bubbles. So they had to make a mind map. Summer, what kind of words would you use for describing summer? And they had to match like bathing suit and a beach towel and beach ball and warm weather and the sun. They were very involved. I also asked the children who were a little bit more advanced in the English language, try to explain your neighbor what you wrote down, so that the children who found it a little bit more easy would have to actively think, okay, what did I write down? How can I explain this to my neighbor who maybe finds it more difficult in a way that they could understand? because I found that the children learn a lot from each other. So if one child finds it very easy, I would make it a little bit more difficult, try to explain it. So after they wrote everything down in the worksheet and they compared their answers, we would check their answers with the whole class. And I would ask, what did you write down? Do you have something else? Do you have a different? Why do you have a different? Because there was one child, and it's fair for them to think this. Well, it's not always sunny in the summer. So we would talk about that. They said to me, nou het is niet altijd zonnig in de zomer hoor. And I would tell them in English what the person said. Well, it's not always sunny in the summer. What types of weather do you also see in the summer? So they would tell me, well, it could be raining or there could be thunder and lightning. So we talked about that as well. And after we checked all their answers, we would look outside and I would say to them, well, look outside. What kind of weather do you see? Where do you see that? And what would you want to bring from home if you saw this kind of weather when you were standing up this morning? And or getting up this morning, and the children would look outside and it's a little bit gray outside. Well, what does that mean? Well, there's not a clear sky. Okay, there's not a clear sky. What color does the sky have on a sunny day? Well, it's blue. Okay, so it's gray. What kind of weather could I expect this day? And there were some kind of looks I got from children, like, what expect? So I asked again, what could I expect on a day that is looking like this? And the children would reciprocate, what am I saying? So there were a few who were at top of their English level that they have to be, that would say, well, wat kan ik verwachten? Yeah, exactly. What can I expect? So what should I have brought to school this morning? And it would say, well, an umbrella and a raincoat and maybe rain boots. And what do you see on the floor? Well, there were puddles and there's water on the floor. Yeah, we call that puddles. So it was a very fun lesson. The children were very involved. The children who found it a little bit more difficult were less involved because they thought, this is a little hard. So I would help them, or their fellow students would help them. But if they were at a point like, hold it, time out, I don't get any of this, I would take them with me to the instruction table, and when I would say, well, what words do you know about the weather? And they would like shoot these words like clouds and rain and sun. And, oh, you know a lot of words. Well, maybe we can match them with the seasons. So we would do that as well. And at the end of the lesson, what did you learn? And then they got to shoot all the words they learned today. And I asked, you know a lot about the weather and you know a lot about the season by now. Can you tell me on your little whiteboard, what is your favorite season? And what do you like to do in that kind of season? So they would write it down in Dutch and some children would use the English words. And I would ask them, can you explain what you wrote down? And they would explain it. And sometimes they would pronounce the words, which was amazing to hear. And I would tell their story in English again to the rest of the class. So it was a very fun lesson. The children were having fun. It was a small worksheet, so if they were done they could draw a drawing of their favorite season on the back, and I would show it on the end of the class. So it was a very successful lesson, and I've had a lot of compliments from my mentor about it, and all because I used the feedback of a fellow student, which was totally allowed and it was totally helpful. So I was very happy with that. and to make it more fun for the children as well as a little bit more engaging and a little bit more complicated, to really pull them out of their comfort zone, in the case of the English language. So it was very fun. Well, this was my vlog. Onto a new English lesson the next time.